So we're going to finish with a well-known passage which makes a lot of us flinch. It says, "Woe to the world for temptations to sin. For it is necessary that temptation comes, but woe to the one by whom that temptation comes." Now, talking here a lot about the debate between Calvinists and Arminians. Super short summary. The Calvinists, it's much more like a mental theology. They go to Scripture to formulate conclusions with their head. To them, God's sovereignty is His chief characteristic, so everything which happens must flow from Him. He has a plan beyond what we can possibly ever understand, and because of that, both the pleasant and the unpleasant things in life all work together for good for those who love Him. Now, the Arminians, on the other hand, is a lot more of an emotional faith, emotional theology. For them, the chief characteristic of God is love. I have no problem with that. It's definitely true. That's a good starting point. Where it falls apart is it's their 21st century concept of what love means. Not necessarily how love is described in the Bible. So for them, since they just figure everything as love, they find it impossible to acknowledge God's complete sovereignty and His omnipotence, because they conclude, well, that would make Him the author of sin. They can't grasp what Calvinists call compatibilism. So compatibilism, what it is, simply says God is sovereign over everything which comes to pass, yet we are still held accountable for the choices we freely make. And that's what you get right here. This is what he's describing. We have the fact that temptation is a necessary part of God's plan, yet we are clearly held accountable for choosing to sin. He says, "For it is necessary that temptation come, but woe to the one by whom that temptation comes." So you have them both. So then if your hand or your foot causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to enter life crippled or lame than with 2 hands or 2 feet to be thrown into the eternal fire. And if your eye causes you to sin, tear it out, throw it away. It is better for you to enter life with 1 eye than with 2 eyes to be thrown into hell of fire. And all the guys broke out a cold sweat, thinking like, what if some other organ is what's causing me to sin? Other people dismiss this as just hyperbole, and they kind of don't really take anything from it. So let's take it as though he is being literal. Is it likely that our foot causes us to sin? Probably not. So we can pretty much write that one off. Our foot is not really going to cause us to sin. Our hand is definitely a more likely candidate. However, I can assure you, if someone is a thief by nature, and you cut his hand off like they do in the Muslim countries, he's just going to get more adept at stealing with his other hand. It's just who we are. So it's not really our hands or our feet. Now, this fictional guy lost all 4 limbs, so we can obviously see it's not our limbs which make us sin, it's something else. So we're going to go to the next likely candidate, our eye. I think we're getting closer, and there's a lot in Scripture where the eye is kind of equated to the mind. It's like your gateway to the soul. Genesis 3:6 says, "And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat." So the Bible talks about the lust of the eyes. Covetousness seems to be the root of all sin. We see a thing we desire, and then our heart becomes twisted, and we feel compelled that we need to have it. And that's where all the other sins seem to fall, especially sins of man against other man. They all come from that desire to have what doesn't belong to us. Our eyes divulge what we want. They get bigger. We stare at the things we want. Pupils actually dilate when we're looking at something we want. But if you pluck one eye out, will that do the trick? No. You can still see with your other eye, so that won't do anything. And say you pluck both guys out, do you honestly think blind people never sin? Does anyone think blind people don't covet? Blind people don't lust? So it's obvious that our eyes can't be what we need to pluck out to enter heaven. So what causes us to sin? The answer is obvious. It's our heart. If your heart causes you to sin, tear it out, throw it away. And if you do, the Lord promises, I will give you a new heart, and a new spirit I will put within you. And I will remove the heart of stone from your body, and give you a heart of flesh. Now, I actually read that last week, but it's good enough. Read it again. I'm actually going to add even the line before and the line after. The Lord promises, I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you shall be clean from all your uncleanliness, and from all your idols I will cleanse you. And I will give you a new heart, and a new spirit I will put within you. And I will remove the heart of stone from your body, and give you a heart of flesh. And I will put my spirit within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, and be careful to obey my commands. So this is the new covenant, right here, that the Lord promised to Israel. And we are grafted into the vine of Israel. We're descendants of Israel by faith. So if you want to be washed by the Lord, if you want to be cleansed from all the things which you've set up as idols in your life, just come to Jesus in faith. And He'll remove your heart of stone and replace it with a heart of flesh. He'll put His Spirit inside you and cause you to walk in His statutes and obey His rules. It says, just come like a child. Abandon your efforts to prove that you're worthy. Just jump on His lap. Completely trust in Him. Total dependence. The world will no longer be your concern because, frankly, our daddy's bigger than your daddy.